I was named Global Brand President to Initiative back in June, actually during Cannes. The news broke. So came fast and furiously. It's been a great summer, really kind of leaning in and digging into the role. I have been, for the past 4 years, leading initiative in the US. So our biggest market, a number of our global clients are out of here in the US. So I knew enough to be dangerous, but not quite enough. So my focus has been primarily getting to the markets, getting to our clients, and getting to our people, and really understanding where I need to focus, where there are opportunities, where there might be some challenges. But I've had some really interesting insights already, some real consistent themes that I think are fascinating, not surprising, but really poignant around our people. There's a real culture that's consistent around the world, how people really enjoy and get a lot out of working for Initiative. Our tremendous focus on clients, the power of the relationships that we have, the tenure of those relationships is pretty incredible. And then our product, which we'll probably talk about at some point, but where we're really leaning into and embracing that around the world and the difference that's making to our clients' business and frankly our own.
So to dive in a bit more into those positive themes you just mentioned, Stacy, Initiative has been on a tear this year as you've expanded your role. You've ranked top media agency globally and in North America for new business by COMvergence. What do you think the formula's been for Initiative's success this year?
It's pretty exciting. We are both proud and humble about those accomplishments, which is pretty amazing. I think there's probably a few things to that. One, I just mentioned Fame and Flow, which is our product. And the way I talk about Fame and Flow and really think about it, even just for me, and then how we kind of express this to clients and people is, we have a diagnostic tool. Fame and Flow allows us to diagnose the best levers to pull, the best levers that we can pull to achieve a client's business or growth objective. So it's a new mental model. It's actually quite analytical, quite strategic, and it's a very tangible way for us to go in, understand a client's challenges or a prospect's challenge, frankly, really look at that with a strategic lens and identify the way we can use media to achieve that from both a fame or brand building side and a flow side, which is really about improving the customer journey. I'd say the most important word in that product, though, is and, because the industry has kind of skewed very much toward performance, what we call a performance or addressable, a real kind of short-term ROI type metrics, which are, of course, critical. But they are not the only things that will drive business. And so what we've been able to identify is the power of that and the multiplier effect that fame and the impact that makes on flow. So they're very powerful together, and we are able to diagnose that for clients, which is great.
So obviously the media industry has been evolving and changing constantly and rapidly. How has Initiative been responding to those changes, and what do you see over the horizon, say, in the coming year, the next few years?
I think all industries are transforming. It's actually pretty exciting, right? It's an exciting time to be part of any industry. But certainly this one I think always kind of is a pioneer, or at least it looked to as a pioneer in change and transformation. And once again, we are trying to lead the way for ourselves and for our clients. We are part of IPG, which is part of this Omnicom acquisition, which is also a pretty transformative moment in the industry. I think that's pretty incredible, actually, right? This is the biggest thing to happen in our industry, certainly in my career, but I'd argue in our lifetimes. And that's amazing, right? We'd way rather be on the inside of that than not. And I think that's the case for our clients, our people, all that good stuff. But, even in addition to that acquisition, there's just a lot of stuff happening, of course, in the AI space, in the talent space, the data and tech, all of the above, which is pretty incredible. I think we're thinking about that the way everybody is. We're starting by getting started. We are thinking about how tools, tech, AI kind of powers us in new ways. And there's a real interesting thing happening where you look at the AI side of things for like scale and efficiency. but the human side of things for creativity and connection. All of those are really important to us, our industry, what we bring to the table. And so there's both a tension between those two sides, and they're both complementary to each other too. So really trying to find the magic among those complementary areas and leaning in that way.
Stacy, you mentioned talent, very important as part of the conversation in media today. What's your sense of the way the talent pipeline and the skills required for media buying are going to have to evolve?
Yeah, talent is our biggest asset. That remains true historically and tomorrow. Training our talent in new ways is something we're thinking about. And that's not an initiative issue, that's an industry-wide challenge that we're all focused on. So training talent, enabling them in new ways, making sure that they're set up for the capabilities, the skill sets required in the modern age, as well as really making sure we have the right balance of strategic, consultative, and creative skill sets that have always been core to our industry, but will be even more pronounced, arguably, moving forward.